Well, as the film itself said, now we found a solution. So, earlier today I just saw The Flash, and as a bridge between the current and past decade of DC on film into the next one post reboot with James Gunn, Pierce Safran at the helm, I will say this film is certainly not the one of the best superhero films ever. Someone been trying to hype it as, but it's also not the complete disaster I was concerned about it being. So I think the best way to address why would be to talk about how to and now coming attraction this time. I already discussed the other trailers and other videos, and personally, if I've seen one Jim Caviezel inspirational action film, basically seen them all. So let's get started. The film's main story centers around Barry Allen's version of the Flash, played by Ezra Miller, attempting to use the Speed Force to undo a personal tragedy. Though Barry succeeds in doing so, this results in Justice never forming, and as General Zod is nigh unopposed in Ultra 2013, he, he and Barry must form a reluctant alliance with Supergirl, played by Sasha Kaye, an alternate version of Batman, played by Michael Keaton, and an alternate version of Barry, also played by Ezra Miller, are in order to help set things right. First, the positives. The performances for the most part actually are quite solid. Those who are not fans of Miller's version of the character are probably not going to be won over, nor will they get nor to be any new fans. But if you enjoy the character's incarnation in the previous films, you likely won't be disappointed. They've been around a long time. I was an actor in both blockbusters and small independent fare. Kaye is Supergirl. Oh, is definitely an actress I would not mind seeing more of if she sticks around after the reboots. And I gotta say that's Michael Keaton's rendition of Batman as a welcome inclusion, as is Ben Affleck's version of the character, and even though Ben has already stated he's not going to be making his version in a standalone movie as long as the current regime's in power at Warner Brothers, I guess there are worse notes to go out on, man. Same reason why he took like the biopic about the Jordans to Amazon instead. And Michael Shannon returning as Zob makes a. Even though I time agree with what he was saying in interviews about he was more interesting Man of Steel about a decade ago, he doesn't feel out of place at least. And the music is quite good. Not only does Benjamin Wolfish do a decent job with the score, he actually does a good job of including like snippets of Danny Elfman music whenever we see bats on screen. Yeah. That's not to say the film was without issues. Far from it. Across the film's 144-minute runtime, they try to balance both personal drama, superhero action, and offbeat comedy with often mixed results. And even though this film had a reported budget of over $220 million at minimum, the visual effects were noticeably worse than previous films in the franchise. There's an early scene where Barry has to rescue infants from a collapsing hospital maternity ward, and it's been compared unfavorably to action scenes on the CW's incarnation of character. We'll come back to that in a bit. But I have no real comment on the infamous kid in the microwave scene, not even going to identify a response. And while I know some of the CG augmentation of the human actors was not entirely avoidable, given how Keaton is in his early 70s, I record this review. But part of me does kind of prefer like the actors and stunt doubles in suits going at it. All of it looks kind of like something out of a game of Injustice 2, which is especially true in film's finale, where it's most obvious and they just keep failing again and again, and also this element called a chrono bowl. Well, say they reminded me of Edge of Tomorrow, but that would imply that someone I know actually saw Edge of Tomorrow. Hmm. I mean, the director tried to claim, hey, just hand wave that away by saying we're seeing this from Barry's perspective. I'm all like, Mr. Muschietti, don't whiz on my porch, tell me it's raining. And I mean, I kind of have something of a sixth sense for kind of dodgy CG after all these sci-fi originals TV movies I've seen over the years, and I probably would feel a lot differently about how the how what Zod does to Supergirl if it didn't look like something less convincing my PlayStation could render. I mean, her and with that being the case, I mean it the whole final scene of the Chrono Bowl comes off as less of a tribute to the on-screen legacy of DC on film, more like a cutscene from Injustice 2. I mean, and that's the part where I kind of had to catch my bus back, but I got enough for the film to at least talk about this. I mean, and which also reflects on how, even though the director was adamant that Miller was the only one that could play this character this range, fans of Grant Gustin would be inclined to disagree. Same with me and maybe like in the anime version of the character. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Flash, but the ones I have seen in other incarnations, I have enjoyed. I mean, for the most part. I mean, yeah. So and apparently not just a sequel, but he also Andy also wanted to direct Batman Brave and the Bold. I mean, given like the less than stellar critical and box office receipts of the film so far, I have my doubts about that happening. And if it's going to have an effect on Blue Beetle and maybe even Aquaman, I for one welcome a new James Gunn and Peter Safran Overlords. All things considered, this may not be the worst comic blockbuster that's come out of this decade so far. I mean, this is a time frame that where the New Mutants and Morbius made the screen after all. But it's not only indicative of the uncertain crossroads once that DC faces on film as of now, how it's actually quite the ideal representation of them. I mean, since I'll get into more detail in my spoiler review whenever the film comes on Max, but with this being the case, apparently they were so confident in this film that it was worth Earth shelving Batgirl, Hole, and numerous other projects quite infamously, which ranks among many controversial creative decisions they made with this franchise over the years. I mean, I give them credit where it's due, that this lasts long in the Dark Universe at least, but suffice to say, in hindsight, I think the backer had the wrong horse. Mm, yeah. I mean, I only really went because no one else in my social circle wanted to, and I mean, since it's made less opening weekend than Super Mario, Volume 3, Spider-Verse 2, Angel Chapter 4 near a few, and I think also to an extent I was right about me feeling that Barry had a more interesting storyline in Director's Cut Justice League than in the standalone film. Personally, at least, I mean. And I will get in more detail in my spoiler review whenever that happens, but still, I can definitely say this confidently. You don't have to see this movie, you don't want to. I mean, and I guess based on the numbers I'm seeing, a lot of people really don't want to. It's actually tracking for at minimum, a 60% drop this week, which, again, that's kind of not big of a leg someone who runs really fast at all. My final rating on this film is 2/4. Thankfully, tomorrow will be my Nintendo Direct reaction and thoughts, and much more pleasant bits to talk about, and that'll be all for now. And as I guess now we put a solution, and I will see you all later this month as well for my look at Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. So take care, everyone.